The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? I mean, after watching H is for Hawk, Amber and Scott are discussing who the real victims are in this movie. Hint, it's the blindfolded hawk. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
So, remind me again, why did you book this movie?
Because I misunderstood the premise of the film. I thought that the main character, Helen, had a friendship with a wild hawk that lived in the wild, not that a bird that was a prisoner in her home. That's why.
Interesting.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks. This episode we are talking about H is for Hawk. After losing her beloved father, Helen finds herself saved by an unlikely friendship with a stubborn hawk named Mabel. Again, I thought she met Mabel out in the world while she was out in the field and saw this hawk, and this hawk came to visit her. I did not realize that this was a hawk that had a hood that was forced to live in her apartment and was restrained by a falconry glove. And every time Mabel tried to fly, her legs and feet were pinned down so she couldn't fly. So misunderstanding on my part. I did not realize there was the cap developed there. And if you know anything about me, or if anyone listening knows anything about me, that is not my jam.
Oh, yeah, no. The indoor birds, the hunting.
Hunting is fine. Listen, wild animals survive. They do not have a supermarket. That is how wild animals survive. There is a hawk that visits our home, and I'm very careful to not provide food for it in the aspect of providing bird feeders to small birds, so then a hawk can just swoop in and get birds. I have no objection to wild animals living wild lives, and that's what they do. That's not a problem for me. What the problem for me was the captivity and denying a bird of its most basic right as a living creature, which is to fly. And it is only allowed to fly when you decide you're going to leave the house, and as soon as it's outside, it wants to fly, it keeps trying to fly, but its feet are pinned down in this glove. And then you decide when the bird gets to fly. Imagine being given the gift of wings and being told, you can't use them unless I say so. Occasionally when we go out, I'll let you use your wings. F that.
Well, I'm just going to say this. Yes, there was all of that to begin with, but she did eventually let Mabel fly, and Mabel could have hightailed it out of there if she wanted to.
Well, yes, because animals can be trained to do certain things. Yes, you can bribe someone to come back. Anyway, let's get into the movie. So Helen's dad dies, and he is a naturalist who raises her and her brother with an appreciation for astronomy and geology and all the things natural. And he is a photographer, and this is based on a real story. So her dad was a real person. She was a real person. And her dad passes away unexpectedly. And so initially we're dealing with the grief of that, and Helen ultimately gets a hawk.
Yeah, apparently she has friends who also do this.
Yeah, it's a practice. People do it.
Yeah. Hawkenry, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I know the term, obviously, falconry, but I don't know what the one is for hawks. Honestly, I can't say that I knew that was a thing for hawks. But,
it's probably still falconry.
But yeah, birds of prey who...
Yeah, if you have a large bird that has talons that would just rip your arm to shreds, and you have to have a bite glove, we'll just lump it all under falconry. Or maybe we can ask the intern, what is it called when it's falconry only for hawks?
The practice of hunting with hawks is specifically called ostringery.
Okay. So, let me just, before we start talking about the film itself, let me clarify something in the timeline. Admittedly, folks, Amber, as a reporter here, is not the best because I checked out when the bird got pinned down to the glove and could not fly and was desperately trying to fly and could not. At that point, I mentally checked out.
This became an audio only.
And I took a nap. I took a nap, and I heard things and I didn't hear some things. But anyway, back to my question. The timeline confused me because we see the information that the dad is dead, and then we see 2 months later that she's driving, and then she gets this bird. She has this bird for a while, and a bunch of time passes, and then all of a sudden her mom says, well, you have to write the eulogy for your dad. What's up with that time frame? Months have passed.
Well, I mean, sometimes you do
months?
I've seen months. I've definitely seen that. If there's a specific reason why. It's not necessarily the most common thing in the world, but yeah, it's done.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to let you lead some of this because admittedly I checked out and I think I caught some Z's for a while and occasionally I would peek out, but mostly I had my head covered up with my hoodie and I had a good rest.
I mean, this is really just a movie about a girl who was super depressed because her dad died.
Well, a grown woman.
A female whose dad died. And she is not coping with it very well, as one is expected in that situation. But so she picks up the hawk basically as a distraction, and it becomes a distraction for sure to her and to the people around her. And all the while, she's just decided she no longer wants to be an academic. So on top of all that, she's quitting her job.
Well, isn't it that her tenure there ended and she was supposed to apply for another job in Germany?
Yeah, no, there was a thing at the Planck University in Germany, but
yeah, it wasn't that she quit. It's just it was, I think, a certain limited time position, which is not uncommon in academic settings.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like she could have kept going if she wanted to, but she didn't, and we never got any clarity on what she was doing with Planck anyway.
So let me offer up the one what would you do before I caught some Z's, which is she has this opportunity to apply and potentially work in Germany. And this guy that she met on Twitter, which again confuses me on the timeline, is this an old movie? Because
2007.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So we saw it in the theater, but it is a re-release because as soon as she said Twitter, I'm like, well, that's interesting. Okay. So
I guess Twitter existed then.
Well, yeah, it existed, but my issue was the name, as she called it Twitter and not X. Okay, so this is something we just saw in the theater, but this is a release of an older film. Okay, I did not realize that.
No.
You said 2007.
Yes, the setting for the movie was 2007.
Oh, I'm with you. Got it. Okay. I'm here. All right, so anyway, so she meets this guy on Twitter. They go out on a date. They come back to her house. They wake up the next morning, and Helen basically says, How do you feel about an adventure and traveling? And basically says, I have this opportunity in Germany. Do you want to come? And
he wanted to come. He just didn't want to go to Germany.
Yeah, girls, ladies, do not scare a guy into moving to another country with you when you just met.
Yeah.
That screams attachment issues and smothering and desperation.
Even I know that.
Yeah. So then the other thing about that encounter in the morning prior to the do you want to move to another country with me after I just met you is she has a book on her nightstand that is about grief. And he picks it up and basically says, what is this for? Fun reading or something. And she just takes it from him and dismisses it and sets it away.
And that's a huge mistake.
And after he leaves, running for the door practically, we don't see this, but it's implied because she just asked him if he would go to Germany with her. So he's leaving and she calls her girlfriend being basically, did I ruin this and whatnot? And she said,
yes, you did.
She said, he saw my self-help books. And she said it in the same tone. He saw my secret child porn stash. It was this thing of shame of he saw my self-help books. Listen, people, if you have self-help books in your home, it means you give a crap about being a better person.
Yeah,
that's not something to be ashamed of, especially when it comes to grief, but any sort of self-help book. If you care enough to make improvements and positive changes in your life, be proud of that.
Yeah, self-help books and medication, stuff like that all means you're trying. You're trying to, it's when you don't have it. So yeah, hey, my dad died. I'm still coping a little bit here, and I'm using this to help.
Yeah, why would you not? I understand maybe not leading with, hey, I'm going through a really tough time, but if someone sees the grief book, own that. I mean, you're going to invite this person to go to another country with them, but you're not going to tell them you're going through the most difficult times of your life?
Yeah, I agree completely. You don't lead with this, but once it comes up, I mean, it's that uncommon for someone to have a parent die. I had a friend of mine who lost her mom. It was probably yesterday, but it happens. So, yeah. A lot of this was her just, you could see that she was horribly depressed throughout. And she had her hawk, but for some reason she decided that she was going to go full recluse. And she basically, once that hawk was in there, she most of the time just didn't even answer her door.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, that makes a lot of sense. When you're going through a hard time and you feel this sense of loss, and especially for her when she said, I feel like my dad was the only person who understood me. Yeah, you don't want a bunch of people where you have to put on a face to be, it's okay, I'm okay, or everything's fine. I can speak from personal experience, and the last thing I ever want to do is say I'm fine when I'm not. And that frequently happens when people are dealing with grief because everyone is on a different timetable for grief. And then some people are very judgy and say, you know, you should be past that by now, or shouldn't they be past that by now, or shouldn't they be doing better? It might take someone a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years, a couple decades, and never. And having to say that you're okay if you're not is a miserable place to be. So if for you not to do that, if that means you shut yourself off, get that.
I mean, if they're actually friends, then you don't have to say you're okay. It seemed like they were checking in on her.
Yeah, I mean, that's
They knew she wasn't okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. And I'm not saying that you can't be real with a friend, but sometimes you just don't want to.
Yeah, I get it. It's just, I feel the isolation was driving her more and more into depression. She more and more felt, I'm alone. I'm alone. It's just me and my hawk. My hawk now is the only one that understands me.
Which she very clearly explains is a non-affectionate species.
Non-affectionate.
So basically you have this hawk in your apartment that is stuck on a ring to stand on, and
well, they made it clear why they do the hood, because of the way that
yes, it calms them so they don't don't act like a bird.
Well, it's not so much that they don't act like a bird, it's that they don't, there's nothing to spook them or harm them in that way. It's just like a eye mask.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think I'd like to make you a little calm all the time, so why don't I take away your vision?
I mean, I pretty much do every night.
Well, yeah, but that's not the same thing. I mean, obviously, I don't dig that either.
But they made the point that
I understand it serves a purpose when you're trying to make a wild animal a domesticated animal and keep them in captivity.
Yes, they made the point that hawks and humans don't think the same way. So that thing that you were talking about putting on a human would not work. But
well, I don't know. I think we should try it. And unless whoever says hawk thinks differently and thinks that's okay, I would like to hear that from a hawk. So get me some sort of hawk to human translator and let me hear that directly from a hawk.
Yeah.
I'm not Fun Amber on this episode. And if you're listening to me and your views don't jive, we'll just have to agree to disagree. So was there anything else particularly that you wanted to address from a what would you do standpoint on H is for Hawk?
No, not really. I mean,
if I don't lead the discussion, it just kind of dies off.
Well, I mean, there wasn't that many decisions that were major. It was more storytelling. Of how do you deal with the hawk? How do you deal with your depression? How do you deal with the fact that your dad died? I mean, I think she should have opened the door for some of the friends. But, yeah, no. That's all I got, boss.
Okay, well, thank you for coming to visit us at Cinema IRL. Come back next time, I promise a better episode, and I'll stay awake for this one.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.